Here we have the Canon R6 and the Canon R6 Mark II. Now these two cameras look the same, they feel the same, they even smell the same. Let's find out which one of these is best for you. Let's start off with what they have in common. Now they're very similar in image quality. You will not be able to tell them apart. Now the R6 Mark II has a sensor that's just a slightly more megapixels, coming in at 24 versus the R6 is 20. The footage filmed on both of these cameras are almost identical. Most of this YouTube channel is filmed on R6 Mark IIs. Now you really can't tell the difference between the R6 and the R6 Mark II when it comes to image quality itself. It's so similar, and it was only released a year or two apart. The autofocus is pretty much the same. They both have two SD card slots. They have the same ports, flip out LCD screen, as well as the same viewfinder. One thing that's slightly different in the R6 Mark II is that it has its dedicated photo video toggle. This makes it a lot easier, as when you come to the R6 Mark I, you have to twist this dial all the way around just to get from photo to video mode. That's a small thing that does make a difference when you're out on the shoot. Now another thing that's slightly different when it comes to the R6 Mark II is they upgraded the hot shoot. This allows the camera to work with some of the newer devices and communicate back and forth a little bit more seamlessly. Now those are some of the smaller differences. Let's talk about the big differences. The R6 Mark II is priced $400 to $500 more than the R6 Mark I, depending on when you're watching this video. Not only that, but you can pick up the R6 Mark I used or on Facebook Marketplace for significantly cheaper now that it's getting a little older. Now what does the R6 Mark II bring to the table that makes it better than the R6 Mark I? Now one of the big things is that they added 6K RAW recording, but the downside of that is you can only do that if you have an external monitor, external recording device. This defeats the purpose for the majority of people who just want to turn the camera on and start shooting. Now let's take that big difference and move it off to the side and talk about something that everybody can benefit from. The biggest upgrade that they made in the R6 Mark II would have to be some of the video features. Now they both shoot in 4K, but the R6 Mark I has a crop in 4K. Now this does matter to a lot of people, but after using it for so long, I noticed that the crop is very minimal. At first, I didn't even realize there was a crop in this mode. After shooting for so long, the crop is so minimal and barely even noticeable. Now if the crop is a big deal for you, I would consider going for the R6 Mark II. The R6 Mark II provides zero crop. Now the R6 Mark II does not provide a crop, but is that small little crop really worth the hundreds of dollars extra you're paying for it? In my opinion, probably not. Now when it comes to the 4K shooting, the big elephant in the room is the overheating. Now when the R6 and the R5 first came out, this was the biggest headline. It was all over YouTube, it was all over the reviews, everyone was talking about how bad the overheating is. Canon has since released some firmware updates that have helped with the overheating, but I found that the overheating is still an issue in the R6 and the R6 Mark II. Now it kind of depends on how you're shooting and your shooting style. When it comes to the R6 Mark I, it does overheat significantly more than the R6 Mark II. Now when shooting for long periods of time at 4K 60 on the R6 Mark I was finding that I needed to downgrade to 4K 30 or 4K 24, and in desperate times, even 1080. And that was a huge downside to the R6 Mark I. Ever since I made the upgrade to the R6 Mark II, I've had significantly better results when it comes to the overheating in 4K 60. Now it did eventually overheat in 4K 60, but when it comes to downgrading to 4K 30 or 4K 24, it went on almost indefinitely without me having ever to go to 1080, which is huge when it comes to these longer shoots and I'm having to shoot clips all day long. Now, if you do need to shoot in 4K 60 for long periods of time, the R6 and the R6 Mark II, both of them might not be the one for you, because it does end up overheating in 4K 60 and you'll have to downgrade. Now, other than the overheating, something that they upgraded when it comes to the R6 Mark II that is huge is the unlimited record time. Now this was a game changer, because with the R6 Mark I found myself having to set timers on my phone, keeping a mental note if I have multiple tripods set up. I just needed to remember each of them are on a timer, and it was just such a pain, especially when I'm trying to shoot and I have it in the back of my head that I need to run back and fix the tripod before having to continue. Now despite the unlimited time, it's not truly unlimited. You are still limited by the battery, by the SD card space, as well as what we talked about before, the overheating. That's what I've noticed as the biggest difference between these two cameras, is the ability for the R6 II to record for longer without overheating. That's only the real big difference. So if you're not shooting for very long periods of time, then the R6 is just fine. They're pretty much the same camera in my opinion. Now, of course, the megapixels might be slightly better, but all in all, the image quality is pretty much the same. Now, in what scenario is it actually worth upgrading? Now, if you're a video focused shooter and you want that extra record time and you want to shoot in 4K 60 for longer without a record limit, think about getting the R6 Mark II. Now, if you already shoot with the R6, I don't know if I would consider this jump. Now, yes, it handles better when it comes to the overheating, and yes, it has 4 more megapixels, but it's not a huge difference. I would even hold out and try to save up for the R5 instead of going from the R6 to the R6 Mark II. Now, if you're coming from the R, RP, M50, any of those older crop sensors, then yes, of course, the R6 or the R6 Mark II leagues better, but it does come with a heavy price. If you're shooting shorter, quicker, not very long clips in 4K 60, the R6 might just be okay. And that's what I've used for a very long time. And now that I've been shooting more and longer days, that's the only reason I feel the need to upgrade to the R6 Mark II or even higher to the R5. But the R6 is still a great camera, and it's honestly pretty much the same. And so there's no real reason for you to spend that much money when it comes to the R6 Mark II, especially when you can pick up an R6 Mark I on Facebook Marketplace for significantly cheaper now that it's an older camera. Now, overall, it's very similar. I would not upgrade for the photo specs. For the video specs, depends on how you shoot. If you shoot in longer 4K 60 format videos, I would consider it, especially with that unlimited record time and the better overheating issues. But if you're more looking at the photo side, it's not really worth it. Now, no matter which one you pick up, they're both high quality cameras. You have C-Log 3, you have the Canon colors, it really can't be beat. Let me know in the comments which one you'd rather pick up. Is the R6 Mark II worth it for you? Or would you rather save some money and go for the R6? Leave a like, subscribe. For the 5 people still watching, I'll see you next time.